Ferrari 296 GTB hybrid supercar. Wow! Do you know that World War II delayed the launch of the first Ferrari? But now there is no stopping the automobile companies from producing zippy, sleek, and perfect cars. Word in the street, Ferrari has unveiled its latest supercar, called the Ferrari 296 GTB, which gets a twin-turbo V6 engine with plug-in hybrid technology for the first time. The 296 GTB features an all-new Ferrari design scheme, and the hybrid powertrain produces a combined output of 818 HP and 740 Nm of torque that drives the rear wheels. Ferrari's new plug-in hybrid supercar is an 830 horsepower beast. You will discover what a wonder this turbo hybrid supercar is, and much more about its classy features and specs in this video. Fasten your seatbelts and ride along! The 296 is named after its 2,996cc engine displacement, while the GTB stands for Gran Turismo Berlinetta. It's the first V6 supercar from Maranello that features the fabled prancing horse badge as during the 1960s to 70s. The V6 engine was used for entry-level sports cars and carried the Dino badge. LD man Enzo Ferrari was a man famous for stuffing large engines in punchy packages. In 1947, he squeezed a V12 into the first Ferrari despite the two-seater's Cinquecento-sized footprint. Today, Ferrari's ghost lingers in saucy strains like the front-engine, rear-drive, V12-powered 812, even though the de facto flagship right now is the V8 hybrid-powered, all-wheel drive SF90. But even stranger times are ahead, because the new 2022 Ferrari 296 GTB gets its power from a ghastly V6 plug hybrid powertrain. This is a big deal for several reasons. High-revving 12 cylinders were long considered the pinnacle of the Maranello microcosm, casting smaller engines as second-class vehicular citizens. When the Modena factory condescended to produce V6s decades later, the House of Ferrari either badged them as Dinos, positioning them as entry-level models, or quietly supplied them to brands like Lancia and Maserati. Thankfully, those worried about this newest Ferrari potentially being Lancia or Maserati-fied have nothing to fret about. The hybridizing and downsizing make the 296 no less a Ferrari. It's every bit as worthy of the prancing horse on its nose as its V8 and V12 powered siblings are. Did you expect anything less from Maranello? The 290 SIXS engine is all new, using a 120-degree configuration that drops the car's center of gravity by 10 millimeters and sheds 66 pounds over the F8 Tributo's mill. The hot-piece setup uses smaller turbos, spinning it up to 180,000 RPM, claiming the highest specific resulting output of any road-going Ferrari engine ever, the unbelievable 217 horsepower per liter. Speaking of its design, the Roma brought prettiness back into Ferrari's design language, and the 296 continues that trajectory with a delicately pointed, purposeful take on the mid-engine Berlinetta paradigm. The tightrope between clean, uncluttered expanses of sheet metal and complex curves is executed deftly with a sharp nose, an hourglass waist, and haunches that nod to the slinky 1960s-era 250LM. Nestled between the flying buttresses is a gorgeously contoured glass engine cover that complements the haunches, displaying the mill's Inconel surfaces like an H.R. Geiger sculpture. The sheen of metallic finishes under glass offers a visual reassurance to traditionalists, though pardon the pun, shock of orange high-voltage cables betrays the electrified underpinnings. The car's undoubtedly saucy styling is a unique departure from Ferrari's current design architecture. The fact that the tail lamps blend in almost invisibly speaks volumes to the efforts design boss Flavio Manzoni exerted to maintain a balance between elegance and purpose. A chorus of naysayers may have dismissed its online debut, thanks to internet, but in the flesh, the 296 is a stone-cold stunner whose design feels live, purposeful, and just pretty enough without verging on preciousness. Surprisingly, Ferrari 296 GTB is deceptively tiny, sitting nearly 5 inches lower than a Porsche 911 Turbo, and just 3 inches longer than the rear-engine Stuttgart sled. It also has a wheelbase that's some 2 inches shorter than the SF90S. If you hop inside, the cabin feels sparse, sleek, and unencumbered by conventional architecture. There are no bulky protrusions or a center stack packed with switchgear, Just thin carbon fiber and leather seats facing an airy swath of leather-wrapped dashboard, and a big windscreen with an expansive view of the road ahead. It wouldn't be the 21st century without a digitized instrument cluster, and the 296 goes the whole hog on the zeros and ones with a wraparound screen that presents a convincing rendition of Ferrari's familiar yellow tachometer front and center. Many details are well thought out, like the oddly satisfying rectangular space where the key fob, finished with an exquisite cloisonné prancing horse, fits perfectly. As much as most of us love the jewelry of physical instrument needles, the curved screen fits the purpose here without feeling gimmicky. The backlit display disappears into a black panel when not in use, and activates eDrive, hybrid, performance, or qualify settings when activated by touch. They say an electric automotive future is on the horizon. Cars have become battery-powered, so are you on the fence about whether or not to accept or reject the most shocking change in decades? We suggest a big yes. Surprisingly, Ferrari 296 GTB supercar can also be super efficient despite its humongous power output. When not matching the pedal, the car can operate on battery power alone using the electric motor coupled to its 7.45 kilowatt-hour battery pack. The 4 driving modes will flow par excellence on this battery-powered hybrid supercar. There is no way one can drive a Ferrari and not fall in love with it, right? Time to turn the key. Are you bummed that pressing engine start produces no sound other than the inscrutable whirs and chimes of electronic systems firing up? That disappointment will be short-lived. Though the Ferrari 296 always starts in hybrid mode, switching to a more aggressive setting ignites the fuel-burning portion of the drivetrain and fills the cabin with the loud, gutturally appealing sounds of the internal combustion. If the engine sounds unusually soulful, credit the so-called hot tube, which routes air intake sonics through a membrane, allowing those resonant frequencies to enter the cabin through the rear bulkhead. Nestle into the thin-shell driver's seat, and there's a surprising amount of comfort despite its relative lack of adjustability. Though redesigned, the steering wheel feels familiar to those already acquainted with the prancing horse brand. Yes, you can cruise for 15 miles at up to 83 miles per hour in electric mode, which is predictably quiet yet not all that quick. But leaning on a combination of gas and electricity brings out the secret sauce that makes Ferraris feel like nothing else on the planet. This thing is alive. You would feel so light and love the accuracy when steering into a corner to put the onus on your driver skill for the aim of precision. It's not twitchy like past Ferraris. The electromechanical setup is remarkably light. Whatever black art is happening behind the scenes, the feeling behind the wheel is magic, with steering that feels lively, accurate, and chatty about what's happening with the road surface below. Let's talk speed now. Accelerate hard, and the 296 merges hydrocarbons and electrons for a linear buildup of power that escalates dramatically as the tachometer reaches the 8,500 RPM limit. While the 8-speed dual-clutch gearbox can execute quick and flawlessly smooth shifts, the automatic shift strategy is weirdly conservative, even in the most aggressive settings. It can run on pure electric mode at speeds up to 133 kilometers per hour or 83 miles and has an electric-only range of 42 kilometers. Impressive! Before we proceed, here is a quick fun fact for you. Do you know that Ferrari drivers have won more than 5,000 sanctioned races? Wow! We cannot help but say the quiet part out loud. Ferrari 296 GTB reinforced everything you suspected about the brand's first V6, but might have been afraid to say out loud. Endowed with the assistance of an electric motor, it never felt wanting for torque or horsepower. Critically, it was also neither sonically nor dynamically challenged, and offered delightful steering, communicative handling, and enough suspension compliance to make it a viably comfortable everyday driver. Want to know how much this tiny beast costs? Ferrari hasn't yet announced its price, though best estimates are calling for a base sticker price somewhere in the low $300,000. The prancing horse doesn't come cheap, after all. All we got to say is that the Ferrari 296 GTB doesn't disappoint. The simple yet indulgent pleasures of driving a short wheelbase, high horsepower car in anger. Some things will never change. Thank you for staying with us till the end. Here are 2 videos you can watch next. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.